There are some doors God slammed shut in your life so loudly that it shook you, but if he hadn't closed them, what was behind them would have destroyed you. You thought it was rejection, but God said it was protection. You called it loss, but heaven called it rescue. And while you were crying over what walked away, God was celebrating what couldn't stay. So don't you dare mourn a door God himself locked, sealed, and posted angels around. Because if you could see what he saved you from, you would be shouting right where you're standing. When God closes a door, it rarely feels divine in the moment. It feels personal. It feels heavy. It feels like something has been taken from you, withheld from you, or ripped right out of your hands. But what you must understand is that every closed door is not God rejecting you. It is God redirecting you. You may interpret it as a setback, but heaven interprets it as strategy. You may see it as an ending, but God sees it as the necessary exit that positions you for the right entrance. Sometimes God will shut a door so hard, so abruptly, so uncomfortably that you are forced to move, forced to shift, forced to grow, forced to consider that perhaps the place you were trying to enter was never meant to hold the version of you that God was developing. Divine redirection doesn't always feel divine. Sometimes it feels like confusion, heartbreak, or disappointment. But the feelings don't change the truth. God closes doors not to push you away, but to pull you forward. Think about the times in your life when you begged for something to work. A relationship, a job, an opportunity, a friendship. You pushed, you knocked, you prayed, you fasted, you strategized, and you fought for it, and still the door didn't open. Still the situation didn't shift. Still it ended. Still it collapsed. And you thought, why? Why would God let me desire something he didn't intend to give? Why let me get close enough to want it, but not close enough to receive it? But what if the desire was a tool, not the destination? What if God used that desire to get you in motion, to get you moving, to get you out of stagnation, but he never intended for you to settle there. Sometimes the thing you want is not the thing that will sustain you. Sometimes the door you're trying to open is too small for the anointing inside you. Sometimes the place you're trying to go is beneath the level God is preparing you to walk in. So he closes the door, not because you're unworthy, not because you're rejected, not because you're cursed, but because you are called to more. Divine redirection is a sign that heaven is invested in your destiny. You have to understand that God is not obligated to bless every plan you make. He is obligated to fulfill every purpose he placed inside you. And when your plan conflicts with your purpose, God will shut the door without apologizing for it. He will close doors that your heart wants, but your destiny cannot afford. He will block opportunities that look good but are not good for you. He will say no to something that feels right because he sees the future that you can't. You're looking at today, but God is looking at 10 years from now. You're seeing comfort, but God is seeing calling. You're seeing stability, but God is seeing stagnation. You're looking at what you want, but God is looking at what you were created for. And when those two things collide, God's purpose will always win over your preference. Every time God redirects you, it is proof that he is managing your life with precision. You may feel lost, but God is guiding. You may feel blocked, but God is leading. You may feel confused, but God is clarifying. You may feel delayed, but God is preparing. You may feel stuck, but God is positioning. A divine redirection never leaves you where it found you. It stretches you. It challenges you. It pushes you to reconsider who you are and who you're becoming. It forces you to think beyond the limits you placed on your own potential. Because if God let every door swing open, you would settle for things beneath your calling. If every opportunity worked out, you would accept roles that shrink you instead of elevate you. If every relationship stayed, you would cling to connections that drain you instead of shape you. Closed doors protect you from sabotaging your own future. But redirection doesn't happen in silence. God often closes a door with a sound, a moment, a realization, a disruption, a shift that makes it clear the season has ended. Sometimes it's dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's painful. And sometimes it's a relief disguised as loss. But however it comes with purpose, and if you pay attention, you'll recognize that every closed door pushes you somewhere new. It moves you into rooms you never would have entered. It leads you to people you never would have met. It exposes you to ideas you never would have considered. It separates you from situations that would have suffocated your growth. When you look back, you'll realize the closed door was not the enemy. It was the escort to your destiny. We often ask God to open doors, but rarely do we thank Him for the ones He closed. Yet closed doors are some of His greatest gifts. They save you from settling. They save you from wasting time. They save you from heartbreak that would have shattered you. They save you from environments that would have buried your gifts. They save you from opportunities that come with hidden traps. They save you from relationships that look supportive but carry silent sabotage. They save you from people who smile in your face but cannot handle your calling. A closed door may feel like an ending, but more often it is an invisible rescue. And the truth is, you cannot step into what God has prepared while clinging to what God has closed. Some people stand at closed doors so long that they miss the open ones standing behind them. They mourn what was never meant to last. They cry over what God removed for their protection. They get angry about what left, while heaven rejoices that it can no longer interfere. When God redirects you, He expects you to walk, to trust, to move, to release, to let go. To follow divine redirection requires obedience, even when your emotions lag behind. You don't have to understand the door God closed in order to obey the path He opened. Every closed door is not the ending of your story. It is the rerouting of your journey. And God is the master of rerouting. He knows how to take what looked like a dead end and turn it into a divine transition. He knows how to close a door in a way that sets off a chain reaction of new opportunities. He knows how to shut down one path so He can illuminate another. And when you surrender your own understanding and trust His direction, you'll realize He never denied you. He simply redirected you to something greater than you imagined. That is why every closed door is a divine redirection, not a divine rejection. Because God never rejects what He created. He protects it. He preserves it. He positions it. So the next time a door closes, don't panic. Don't crumble. Don't assume you're being punished. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and declare it. If God closed it, I don't want it. If God blocked it, I don't need it. If God redirected me, something greater is coming, because God is not pushing you away. He is guiding you forward, one closed door at a time. There are moments in life when you stand in front of a door that will not open no matter how hard you push. You pray, you plead, you plan, you position yourself, yet it still refuses to budge. And in that moment, it's easy to feel small, unworthy, overlooked, or forgotten, but what you must understand is that God never closes a door without intention. When He blocks something, He is not stripping you of goodness. He is elevating your identity. He is pushing you beyond the level you have outgrown. God blocks what is beneath you to push you toward what is beyond you. You may not feel it, you may not see it, and you may not understand it, but every blocked door is evidence that heaven sees more in you than you currently see in yourself. Sometimes God has to save you from settling. You are about to step into a space too small for the greatness inside you. You were about to enter a relationship that couldn't nurture your spirit. You were about to take a job that would have buried your creativity. You were about to attach yourself to a circle that would have stunted your growth. And because God is too committed to your destiny to let you shrink your own potential, He blocked the door. He made the opportunity collapse. He allowed the connection to fail. He let the path become unavailable. Because if He hadn't, you would have willingly placed yourself under something that couldn't sustain the weight of your anointing. Beneath you doesn't mean you're better than others. It means your calling requires more than what that door could offer. God's refusal to let you walk backwards is His way of pushing you forward. The reason it hurts is because you were attached to the idea of that door. You imagined what life would look like if it opened. You developed expectations around the possibility. You built hope around what you thought was next. And when God blocked it, it felt like loss rather than protection. But God sees danger in places you see comfort. He sees limitation where you see stability. He sees spiritual decline where you see temporary happiness. He sees a detour where you see a destination. You only evaluate the door by what you know. God evaluates it by what He knows. And His knowledge stretches beyond the present moment. He knows your future battles, future needs. future responsibilities, and future assignments. He knows what will strengthen you and what will weaken you. He knows what will sharpen you and what will drain you. And because he sees what's ahead, he refuses to let you settle for what is beneath you. God pushes you toward what is beyond you, beyond your current environment, beyond your current relationships, beyond your current comfort zone, beyond your current understanding, beyond your current limitations. He calls you into a future that feels too big, too unfamiliar, too overwhelming, and he uses blocked doors to force you into that expansion. Growth rarely happens in open door seasons. Growth happens when you are pushed into new territory, when you have to confront the fears you avoided, when you have to release the things you held on to, when you have to try new strategies, depend on God at a deeper level, and discover abilities you didn't know you had. God blocks doors not to stop you from moving, but to redirect where you're moving. Think about the times you tried to cling to something that was beneath your calling. You tried to stay in friendships where you were constantly overlooked. You tried to stay in environments that didn't respect your voice. You tried to hold on to relationships where your worth was minimized. You tried to be loyal to spaces that were never loyal to you. And every time you tried to stay, something would shake, something would break, something would shift until eventually the door slammed shut. You weren't being punished, you were being pushed out of small places, pushed out of draining environments, pushed out of circles that couldn't carry who you were becoming, pushed into alignment with something greater. You must understand that your calling is too heavy to fit through every door. Your destiny is too valuable to be placed in every hand. Your purpose is too sacred to be planted in every soil. There are places you wanted to go that were simply too limited for the fullness of who you are. God is not just protecting you, he is protecting the seed inside you. He is protecting your future self. He is protecting the expanded version of you that your current self might not even recognize yet. The you that will lead, the you that will influence, the you that will grow, the you that will carry responsibility, the you that will stand in rooms your past couldn't imagine. That version of you can't afford doors that are beneath you. So God blocks them. He blocks people from using you. He blocks opportunities that would have distracted you. He blocks ideas that would have wasted your time. He blocks connections that would have drained your energy. He blocks jobs that would have crushed your spirit. He blocks relationships that would have damaged your identity. He blocks the counterfeit so he can reserve you for the authentic. He blocks the temporary so he can prepare you for the eternal. He blocks what is beneath you so he can escalate you into what aligns with your calling. You may not feel ready for what is beyond you, but God never pushes you toward what he hasn't equipped you to step into. You think the move is too big, he says it's necessary. You think the next season is too intimidating, he says it's already prepared. You think the future is too uncertain, he says he has already gone ahead of you. When God pushes you, he pushes you with purpose. He pushes you with intention. He pushes you because you are carrying something that cannot be developed in small, stagnant, suffocating places. The only reason the blocked door feels painful is because you don't yet see what's waiting beyond. But when you finally step into the space God has been guiding you toward, you will look back and thank him for every blocked opportunity. You will thank him for every closed door, every failed plan, every rejection, every disconnect, every dead end. Because in hindsight, you'll realize they were never setbacks. They were setups. They were the divine pressure that moved you out of places you never would have left on your own. A blocked door is not God saying, this is the end. It is God saying, this is not the place. It is God saying, there is more for you than this. It is God saying, I refuse to let you shrink yourself. A blocked door is heaven shouting, forward, even when your emotions whisper, stay. And eventually, you will recognize that what God blocked beneath you was the launching pad for what he is bringing you into next. Because God doesn't close doors to stop your progress. He closes them to elevate your direction. He blocks what is beneath you so he can push you toward what is beyond you. And when you finally walk through the right door, the one heaven crafted, the one your calling fits, the one your purpose requires, you will understand why every lesser door had to be shut. There are seasons in life when the very thing God uses to protect you looks, at first glance, like a wound. The moment a door closes, the heart reacts before the spirit can interpret it. You feel the sting of disappointment. You feel the ache of loss. You feel the frustration of delay. And in your humanity, it's natural to look at the situation and assume something went wrong. Assume you missed something. Assume you're being punished. Assume that God is displeased with you. But protection rarely feels like protection when you're standing in the middle of the moment. Protection often feels like pain until purpose reveals the reason. We interpret everything through the lens of the immediate. We want answers now, clarity now, resolution now. But God operates from the eternal. He doesn't make decisions based on what you're feeling today. He makes decisions based on where you're headed tomorrow. And because his perspective is higher, broader, deeper, and wiser, he makes moves that don't match your emotions. What feels like a closed door is sometimes an act of emergency rescue. What feels like rejection is sometimes divine intervention. What feels like loss is sometimes heaven's way of clearing out space for what is coming next. But because we can't see what he sees, the immediate impact often hurts. Think about moments when you prayed for something with your whole heart. You believed in it. You prepared for it. You worked for it. You expected it. Then suddenly, without warning, the door closed, the conversation ended, opportunity disappeared, the relationship shifted, the plan collapsed, and your first reaction wasn't gratitude, it was grief. Your heart interpreted the moment as punishment because the pain felt real. But sometimes God has to let something break to prevent something worse from breaking later. He will let something fall apart in your present to save your future from falling apart completely. You see pain, but God sees prevention. You see disruption, but God sees deliverance. You see confusion, but God sees correction. You see a closed door, but God sees a collision avoided, one you never even knew was coming. Protection rarely comes with explanation. God doesn't always tell you what he saved you from. He simply leads you away from it. And because you don't see the danger, you often call his protection disappointment, but purpose has a way of revealing the reason later. Once you walk into the next season, once you encounter the right people, once you enter the right opportunities, once you look back with maturity and clarity, you begin to realize that God was saving you all along. Protection feels like pain because pain is often the tool God uses to separate you from what you would never leave voluntarily. The truth is we hold on to things tightly, too tightly. We cling to familiar places, familiar people, familiar identities, familiar mindsets, even when they are hurting us, limiting us, or slowly draining us. And sometimes God has to use pain to pry your fingers off of something that was never meant to be permanent. Pain pushes you out of expired seasons. Pain forces you out of toxic connections. Pain opens your eyes to truths you ignored. Pain wakes you up from comfort that was slowly killing your purpose. Pain is not God's cruelty. It is his method of movement. If God allowed protection to always feel good, you would never leave places that are beneath your calling. You would never detach from relationships that can't carry your destiny. You would never abandon environments that cannot grow with you. You would never walk away from situations that look stable but are spiritually suffocating. So sometimes protection comes wrapped in discomfort. Sometimes protection shows up as the job that didn't hire you. Sometimes protection is the person who walked away. Sometimes protection is the friendship that betrayed you, because if it hadn't, you would still be blind to their intentions. Sometimes protection is the opportunity that fell through because it would have drained you mentally, financially, or spiritually. Sometimes protection is the breakup that shattered you because staying would have broken you even more. Pain is not the punishment, it is the process. A process that breaks attachments that were blocking your growth. A process that reshapes your character. A process that tests your obedience. A process that strips away what can't go with you to the next level. A process that strengthens your endurance. A process that shifts your dependence from people to God. Protection often looks like loss because you're losing what is familiar, but you are gaining what is necessary, and necessary rarely comes without discomfort. Purpose always reveals the reason in time. At some point you will look back and say, if that door had opened, I would have settled. If that person had stayed, I would have been stuck. If that opportunity had worked, I would have missed what God had truly prepared. If that season hadn't ended, I would have never stepped into the fullness of who I am. The revelation often comes later, but when it comes, it changes your entire perspective. You stop blaming God for the doors He closed and start thanking Him for the disasters He prevented. You start realizing that His silence was strategy, that His no was protection, that His redirection was a blessing in disguise. God never wounds without purpose. Even the pain He allows is intentional. The closed door that broke your heart was the same door that would have broken your future. The disappointment that made you cry was the same moment that saved you from destruction. God doesn't protect you by your feelings. He protects you by His foresight. That's why you need trust more than understanding. Trust anchors you in the middle of pain until purpose has time to unfold. You may not feel it now, but what hurts you today may be the very thing that helps you tomorrow. One day you will stand in a place of clarity, gratitude, and spiritual maturity, and you will say, God, thank you for not giving me what I thought I wanted. Thank you for closing that door. Thank you for removing that person. Thank you for blocking that path. Thank you for saving me from battles I never had to fight, because what felt like punishment will be revealed as protection. The pain of the closed door is temporary, but the purpose behind it is eternal. And when God finally brings you into the place He has prepared, you will realize the pain was not wasted. It was a doorway to destiny. There are moments in life when you look around and realize that the room you once felt comfortable in now feels empty. People who used to walk with you don't walk with you anymore. Friends who once encouraged you have gone silent. Relationships you depended on have changed. Circles you trusted no longer fit. And sometimes without warning, without explanation, without apology, God begins to remove people from your path. But you must understand this: when God closes a door, He is not just moving you. He is pruning your circle for your calling. He is not just shifting your environment. He is purifying your alignment. He is not just reducing your connections. He is refining your direction. God knows that every person attached to you cannot go where you are going. Some people are attached to your past version, not your future version. Some celebrate your comfort, not your calling. Some love your potential as long as it doesn't surpass their expectations. Some are connected to your presence but not committed to your purpose. And because God is too invested in your destiny to let you carry dead weight into your next season, He begins to close relational doors. He begins to separate you from people who would limit your growth. He begins to cut off access from those who cannot honor your evolution. He begins to sift through your circle, not to punish you, but to protect the assignment over your life. This pruning process doesn't always feel spiritual. It often feels painful. You feel the sting of distance. You feel the ache of loss. You feel the confusion of sudden separation. You question your worth. You question your discernment. You question your identity. You wonder what you did wrong, why the relationship changed, why the loyalty faded, why the connection died. But the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. You outgrew the level those people were comfortable with. Your spirit evolved and their mindset didn't. Your calling increased and their capacity didn't. Your hunger for purpose expanded, but their vision remained small. And because God won't let you shrink to make other people comfortable, He removes what cannot grow with you. You must understand that pruning is a sign of preparation. When God gets ready to elevate you, He starts organizing your environment. He starts filtering your circle. He starts removing distractions disguised as relationships. He starts exposing intentions that were hidden. He starts breaking attachments that were silently limiting you. Some people can handle your struggle but can't handle your success. Some can handle your beginnings but cannot handle your becoming. Some can handle you when you need them, but cannot handle you when God blesses you. And because God knows this long before you do, He closes the door before their presence becomes poison to your progress. Sometimes God removes people because their season is over. They were assigned to a chapter, not the whole book. They were part of your development, not your destination. Their purpose was to push you, teach you, shape you, or wake you up, but not to walk with you forever. Not every relationship is meant to be permanent. Some people arrive to prepare the soil of your heart, but they are not meant to remain when the harvest comes. And if you cling to what was only meant to temporarily support you, you will sabotage what God has prepared to permanently sustain you. Other times, God removes people because they cannot be trusted with the next level. He sees conversations you didn't hear. He sees motives you didn't discern. He sees jealousy behind the smile. He sees competition behind the compliments. He sees sabotage behind the support. You may interpret their presence as loyalty, but God sees the intention of their heart. And because He knows the weight of the blessing coming to your life, He won't allow you to carry people into that season who would mishandle it. He loves you too much to let you be surrounded by people who smile at your potential but fear your destiny. There are also times God prunes your circle so He can become your source. You've been depending on people for validation, affirmation, visibility, comfort, strength, or confidence. You've allowed certain relationships to hold the place God wanted to occupy. You look to people for answers God wanted to provide. And so He steps in and begins to remove the voices that drown out His voice. He shuts the doors that distract you from His direction. He disconnects you from the people who unintentionally became idols in your life, because the next move He's about to make requires a level of clarity, intimacy, and obedience that only comes from depending on Him fully. Pruning is not abandonment, it is alignment. God is aligning you with the right people, the right voices, the right mentors, the right partners, the right atmosphere. Before God elevates, He isolates, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Isolation is the womb of transformation. When people fall away, God steps in closer. When circles shrink, intimacy deepens. When relationships end, revelation increases. You begin to see who you are without the noise of the crowd. You begin to hear God in a frequency you couldn't hear before. You begin to understand your identity, your calling, your gifting, your anointing in a way you never did when you were surrounded. And as God closes relational doors, He begins to open purposeful ones. He introduces you to people who speak to your destiny, not your insecurity. People who challenge you to grow, not stay small. People who celebrate your evolution, not resent your elevation. People who push you toward purpose, not pull you into distraction. People who carry the spiritual maturity, emotional stability, and divine alignment to help you walk into your calling with confidence and clarity. But these people cannot come in until those who were draining you go out. Your next level has requirements. Your calling has boundaries. Your destiny has standards. And sometimes the door God closes is a relationship you were trying to keep open. He closes it because the person cannot go where He's taken you. He closes it because their presence will disrupt your progress. He closes it because their mindset will hinder your movement. He closes it because their character cannot withstand your purpose. God is not taking people from you. He is taking you from people who cannot handle the weight of who you truly are. The pruning will hurt at first. You will feel the sting of separation. You will feel the silence of absence. You will feel the discomfort of transition, but in time you will understand. In time you will see the wisdom in His decision. In time you will thank God for every person He removed, because when you step into your calling, when you walk in the fullness of your purpose, when you enter the rooms you were created for, you will realize that the circle you thought you needed was the very thing that would have kept you from your destiny. When God closes a door, He is pruning your circle for your calling, not to punish you, but to prepare you, not to isolate you, but to elevate you, not to reduce you, but to refine you. And when you finally stand in your place of purpose, you will look back at every closed relational door and say, God, you knew exactly what you were doing. There are seasons in life when everything feels still, silent, and uncertain. A door closes, and for a moment, it feels like the end of something meaningful. An opportunity you prayed for, a relationship you hoped for, a path you trusted in. You stand in front of that closed door and wonder why it had to shut, why it had to end, why it couldn't stay open just a little longer. In those moments, disappointment tries to convince you that your story has stalled, that your progress has been paused, that God has somehow changed His mind about your destiny. But the truth is far more powerful. A shut door today is the setup for a supernatural opening tomorrow. God never closes a door without preparing an opening, not a human-made opening, not a forced opening, Not an artificial opening, an opening orchestrated by His timing, His wisdom, and His sovereignty. The closed door is not the conclusion of your journey, it's the construction site where your next level is being built. God shuts what you do not need so He can open what you cannot yet see. And the space in between, the space where the door is closed but the new one hasn't appeared, is often where the deepest work happens inside of you. A shut door today feels painful because your vision is limited to the present moment. You see what ended, but God sees what's beginning. You see loss, but God sees leverage. You see disruption, but God sees divine strategy. God is a master architect. He knows how to build something greater in the silence. He knows how to prepare an opening so big, so strategic, so divine that it requires the temporary stillness you're experiencing now. If the door had remained open, you would have walked through prematurely. If the opportunity had stayed, you would have settled. If the path had continued, you would have missed the path meant for your purpose. God shuts doors to slow you just long enough for Him to align the pieces you can't see. He is orchestrating people, positioning resources, preparing opportunities, and aligning timing in ways that your human logic could never calculate. Your life is not on pause, it is in preparation. And preparation always feels like delay until the blessing arrives. But when the supernatural opening finally appears, you will realize God was not withholding from you. He was building something for you. The frustration of the closed door often comes from the illusion of finality. It feels like the story is over, but the supernatural opening God is preparing often requires the shutting of multiple doors you thought were essential to your future. You might wonder why God is removing options, narrowing paths, stripping away choices. But sometimes God has to reduce your alternatives so that when He opens the right door, you will recognize it without confusion. He doesn't want you wandering into places that drain you. He doesn't want you distracted by opportunities beneath your destiny. So He closes doors not to limit you, but to focus you. Every shut door carries a message. This is not the way, but every supernatural opening carries a louder message. This is what I had in mind for you all along. The supernatural opening has timing attached to it. It has purpose woven into it. It has provision embedded in it. It is not rushed. It is not random. It is not accidental. It arrives at the exact moment when everything in your life is ready to sustain it. God does not bless what you cannot carry. He does not elevate you into places your character cannot handle. He waits until the soil of your spirit is stable enough to support the seed of your future. The door that opens tomorrow will make sense of the door that shut today. You may not understand it now. Most divine things don't make sense in the moment, but you will understand it when God brings you into the place He has prepared. When you step into the opportunity that fits your calling. When you encounter the relationship that honors your identity, when you walk through the door that aligns with your destiny, that's when everything will click. That's when you will look back and say, God, You were protecting me. You were guiding me. You were positioning me. You were preparing me. A supernatural opening is not just another opportunity. It is a moment ordained by God. It is a place where your preparation meets God's timing. It is a door you could not have forced open even with all your talent, connections, effort, or intelligence. A supernatural opening is the kind that only appears when heaven authorizes it, and when it opens, no one can shut it. No enemy can block it. No person can sabotage it. No circumstance can prevent it. When God opens a door, it stays open until His assignment is fulfilled. But here is the part we often forget. Supernatural openings require supernatural obedience. You cannot cling to a closed door and expect to walk into a divine one. You cannot mourn what God ended and expect to embrace what God is beginning. You cannot stay stuck in the why and miss the what's next. The closed door asks you to surrender. The shut season asks you to trust. You may not know what God is doing, but you can be confident that He is doing something because His nature is too faithful to abandon you, too intentional to waste your time, too loving to leave you with less when He designed you for more. Your job is not to open the next door. Your job is to stay in alignment while God prepares it. Your job is not to understand the closed door. Your job is to trust the one who closed it. Your job is not to predict what tomorrow looks like. Your job is to remain faithful today, because when the supernatural opening arrives, It will require a version of you that is anchored, strengthened, matured, and refined by the season of waiting. When God finally opens the supernatural door, it will not look like the doors you've seen before. It will come with favor that doesn't match your RA sum A. It will come with opportunities that exceed your expectations. It will come with connections that make sense only in hindsight. It will come with blessings that feel too big for the seasons you came out of. It will come with clarity so sharp that you will wonder why you ever questioned God's timing in the first place. And the beauty of the supernatural opening is that it always arrives right on time, not your time, but God's time. Not when you're ready emotionally, but when you're ready spiritually. Not when you think you deserve it, but when God knows you can steward it. Not when you want it desperately, but when you can carry it responsibly. So if a door has shut in your life, if a relationship ended, a job fell through, a plan collapsed, a dream paused, don't let discouragement convince you that God is done moving. He is not finished. He is preparing. He is aligning. He is building. He is orchestrating. A shut door today is not the end of your story. It is the divine setup for a supernatural opening tomorrow. And when that door finally swings open, when heaven announces that your next season has begun, you will walk through it with strength, clarity, gratitude, and the unshakable understanding that God never closes a door unless He is preparing something greater on the other side. When you look back across everything we've walked through in this message, every closed door, every redirection, every season of pruning, every moment that felt like loss but was really protection, there is one truth that rises above them all: God has never abandoned you. Even in the moments when you felt the sting of doors shutting in your face, even when you questioned your worth, even when you wondered why something you prayed for didn't work out, heaven was working behind the scenes. God wasn't punishing you. He was positioning you. He wasn't denying you. He was delivering you. He wasn't withholding from you. He was shielding you from what you could not yet see. And if you can trust Him in the dark, you will praise Him even louder when the light comes on. Every door that closed in your life carried a purpose attached to it. Some doors closed because the season expired. Some doors closed because the people connected to that season were not meant to walk into your future. Some doors closed because you were shrinking in places where God intended for you to grow. Some closed because what you were asking God for was too small for what He planned to give you. And some doors closed because the enemy set traps behind them that would have taken you off course. You cried over doors that God slammed shut while angels were saying, "Thank God they didn't get what they asked for." You mourned endings that heaven was celebrating because those endings were the only way something greater could begin. And now, looking forward, you must understand, God does not close doors without preparing new ones. He does not remove without replacing. He does not subtract without multiplying. He does not prune without preparing a greater harvest. If God closed something in your life, it is because He is about to open something that will blow your mind. A shut door is not the period at the end of your story. It is the comma. It is the pause before the plot twist. It is the silence before the breakthrough. It is the gap where God builds strength, wisdom, vision, and character in you so that when the next door opens, you have the capacity to carry the blessing waiting behind it. So don't stand at the door God closed and beg it to reopen. Don't keep knocking where God has already said no. Don't keep revisiting what God has released you from. Don't keep trying to resurrect what God intentionally allowed to die. Your destiny is not behind you. It is in front of you. Your promise is not in what walked away. It is in what is coming. Your healing is not in the door that closed. It is in the one heaven has already prepared. God is too wise to mislead you and too loving to harm you. If the door closed, it closed for a reason. If the opportunity ended, it ended for a reason. If the friendship dissolved, it dissolved for a reason. Let God be God. Let His now be your protection and His timing be your peace. And as you prepare for what's next, carry this truth deep in your spirit. The door God opens for you will fit you in a way no previous door ever did. You will not have to shrink to enter it. You will not have to compromise your identity to walk through it. You will not have to beg anyone to join you. You will not have to fight for someone to stay. What God opens for you will be tailored, made God-ordained, peace-filled, and purpose-driven. And when it opens, It will be so clear that you will look back on every closed door and say, Lord, thank you that you didn't let that work out. Gratitude will replace confusion. Praise will replace disappointment. Understanding will replace pain. And you will see with new eyes that every closed door was a chapter in the story of your protection. So walk out of this message today with confidence, with vision, with courage, and with faith. Stand tall knowing that the God who closes doors is the same God who opens better ones. Move forward trusting that his plan is bigger than your disappointment. Step boldly into the unknown, not because you know what is coming, but because you know the one who is leading. And remember this for the rest of your life: God closes doors to protect you, not to punish you. And the next door he opens for you will prove it.